If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into a special joint episode of the R&D Sports Podcast and Side Mission. I'm your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by Darius Horton. And Darius, we've done, I think, one or two of these episodes before where we've combined and both of my podcasts end up getting an episode of content out of it. I know we did it with the version of the game we're reviewing today that came out a year ago, because today we're talking about college football 26. Which I won't lie. So, Darius, when this game first came out, did you have a hard time not saying college football 25? Because for me, that has been really, really hard the last couple of weeks.
Man, what's been hard for me is not saying NCAA football because I'm so used to the older ones. But no, I definitely understand that. I've slipped up a little bit too. I guess it's because we're in 2025, so it's easier to be like college football 25. But yeah, it does feel. And I think I think this is the reason why. It's because the game. Yeah, I will get into that, but the game kind of feels the same. But I think that maybe could be a reason why. But yeah, I've actually done that a couple times too. But in the beginning though, I was calling this thing NCAA football. Insert insert year here. But yeah, I've definitely slipped up a couple times for sure.
Yeah, there's a fair amount to talk about when it comes to this game. Obviously, we've each played a few different modes by this point. I think you've probably played the game a lot more than me, because lately, for those who don't know, as the massive gamer that I am, a lot of my gaming time over the last month and a half has been Death Stranding 2 and now Donkey Kong Bonanza. So that's where a lot of my gaming time has gone over the last month and a half. I've managed to mix in a few days worth of playing time into this game as well. And I think there's a fair amount to discuss, and there's a fair amount to, I don't want to say critique, but a fair amount to maybe pick at a little bit. So we'll go ahead and dive right in, Darius, as I feel like I have a take, and I want to save it for a little bit later on in the episode. I don't necessarily want to give it right now, because I feel like people will react one of two ways. Either A, they'll get mad and they'll stop listening to the episode right here, or B, they'll call it rage bait and they'll just get mad at me in real life. Who knows? I don't really know. But I want to start with what this game does good, because there are a few things that are improved from college football 25 to this. One, I feel like player models and coaching models look a lot better in this game. Visually, they look a lot better. Coaches actually looked like they were scanned into this game for the most part. Like Josh Heupel looks like Josh Heupel. And I like that, because it provides a level of realism, because that's ultimately what a lot of us take from these games, is that, hey, we want to play a game that simulates what college football or what the NFL or what the NBA or any sport. We want to play these because we want to simulate what they're like in real life. We want to have some fun with them. And I think it adds to that realism. I also do think that on the whole, I feel like how the game runs is handled a lot better this year. I think last year's game looked really good, played really well, but I'd be lying if I thought this game did not look better. This game looks, in my opinion, multiple steps up when I look at last year's game. A game that I'd already say on a scale of 1 to 10 was probably an 8 out of 10 in the graphics department. This game is firmly a 10 in my opinion. This game looks amazing, especially when you're playing it on a bigger TV, when you're playing it in 4K. It looks awesome. And I think there's a lot of that works. I'm curious, if there's any areas where you felt this game improved on 25 in, what really sticks out to you?
I want to keep it on the line of presentation because I know you spoke a lot about, and I do agree. I think the presentation overall of this game has significantly improved from college football 25. Like how you mentioned, the coaches models are actually in there. Now, obviously, I know they couldn't get Bill Belichick or Deion Sanders on there. But I mean, outside of that, like, I don't think that's a big deal. Like, I'm not going to nitpick that. But anyway, like how you said, like, Josh Heupel looks exactly like Josh Heupel. Sharon Moore at Michigan looks exactly like Sharon Moore. Derek Mason at MT looks like Derek Mason. But yes, there has been a lot of presentation aspects of this game that's improved. something that really improved in the presentation department that I did want to point out. There are two things. The first one is I felt like they nailed the on the field presentations, which is like running out like the power T if you're playing for Tennessee, watching Bevo coming out of the stadium whenever you're playing for Texas, or even at Michigan when they slap the go support your programs, go blue, type of banner. And when they dot the I at Ohio State, like they have a lot of presentation things that definitely have that have gained more, I would say more improvements that they have did for this game, basically. So I think visually, that is one thing that I noticed that they've done well. I would say number two, and this is something that I have heard a lot of people complain about that they actually did. And this is one thing this was probably as far as like the presentation thing because it was so bad in 25. I think the music and the like the way that they did music in college football 26 is 10,000 times better than what we had in 25. Because if everybody knows, college football 25 was basically just drumline the video game when you're there from the audio standpoint. And that absolutely bothered me so bad and it was so annoying. It was so bad to where it's like I sometimes last year I had to play the game on mute because I would get annoyed hearing the same little drumline solos going on forever. Um, Now this year, I think what they have did they made real songs and they have turned them into band like renditions. Like for me, whenever I hear like I think they did songs like Never Scared by Bone Crusher, which is my favorite. My high school plays that. So every time I hear that song, I start thinking about like coaching football and hearing that on Friday nights and stuff like that. And then I don't know, Brett, I'm pretty sure you know this, but they have the MTSU fight song on there. So
Yes,
to me,
yes.
every time I hear that, I say it, I sing it or try my best to hum out the words every single time. But yeah, I hear that every single time, and to me, it just I don't know, it just makes me think about quote unquote the good old days or whatever. But yeah, no, I think the audio and like just the music on the menus is way more tolerable than what it was in college football. To me, like presentation wise, that to me was the biggest thing because I've seen so many people complain about how much on the presentation side that drum solo or like that trumpet solo that it was in 25 was so bad, and now it's way more tolerable and it's way more enjoyable in my opinion.
I do think that presentation is one aspect where this game takes a massive step forward from college football 25 because, like you said, and it's worth pointing out, I do want to say the little drum riff, the drum line riff that we hear over and over again in 25 is also the menu music on the PlayStation whenever you hover over the icon for college football 25 or 26. That's the music that plays, is that same like same drumline music that you heard in 25 over and over and over repeatedly. But I like that that's pretty much the only time I've heard it. So it's
Right.
almost like that's almost become like the college football theme. It might not be necessarily, the SEC on CBS or the Big Ten on Fox or whatever. It might not be that necessarily. But I do like that they're trying to put something of an identity when it comes to the music in this game. I actually like that. I like that they're trying to give it an identity. And the fact that again, I didn't set MTSU or anything on there, but I have heard the MTSU fight song so much. And as an alum, I think that is sick. So like that
Yes.
they have that much of a presence in the game. And again, I don't know if that's just something that carried over from 25 or maybe something it took based on my location or anything like that. But I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that again I get to hear stuff like that. I've heard like you don't just hear like your Tennessees, your Michigans, your UCLAs, your Texas, your Oklahoma. You don't just hear those big recognizable fight songs. You're hearing a lot of smaller schools. Like another one that I've heard a lot has been Liberties. I've heard Liberties
Oh,
fight song quite a bit as well, and I think that that's cool. I think that's actually
yes.
really really cool. So I like that like smaller schools have good representation here. I do think the gameplay, while not drastically changed from a year ago, I think it's still really solid. And I think
Yeah.
that says a lot because you look at a franchise like Madden, which, funny enough, is also developed by EA. Madden has kind of gone downhill in the gameplay department over the last 5 to 10 years. We've seen it slowly kind of decline a little bit, and it feels like in this one that the good news is in year 2 of them making this a yearly release, the gameplay didn't really take a step back, in my opinion. I think if anything, at worst, it is the exact same, and that gameplay was really good a year ago. It was really, really good a year ago. There are minor tweaks I'm not a fan of. For one, the pass meter. Not a huge fan of how they did it because it feels changed ever so slightly to where if your pass is almost too yellow, it becomes orange and you put a little bit too much velocity on it and it affects the accuracy. But the problem is for me is that in the pass meter itself, it's really hard to discern where that sweet spot is until you start really playing. It's really hard to discern exactly where I need to let go of this pass because too many times I've let go way too early and I've airmailed the pass. Or I've thrown a really inaccurate ball that the receiver has to try to make a big play on and they just can't because the defender smacks the shit out of them. So, to me, that change there is a very slight one, but it's not a change that I'm really a huge fan of. Again, I felt like last year's pass meter was very solid. I didn't feel the need that it needed to be changed or altered. It almost feels like a change that's being made for the sake of a change being made, not because one needed to be made. And that bothers me a little bit because you said it in one point you said early on. Or I think you might have said this when we were talking before we started recording. There's no need to reinvent the wheel here. What you did worked. Improve the stuff around it. Improve the stuff around it. That's ultimately what we were looking for, what I was looking for personally. And I unfortunately don't feel like in a lot of the gameplay department as in terms of that, I'm not sure that we necessarily got an improvement on anything in the gameplay department. I'm not sure we did. And that's where I want to pose an opinion that I've had. And I know I'm not the only one that has had this opinion. I know this is far from an original thought. So if you've heard this from a few people, forgive me. I'm not trying to regurgitate them, but I do feel the same way. Darius, I have a question. Do you feel that last year, a lot of us overlooked issues in 25 because we were just happy to have a college football game?
Um, I think
Because I,
you know
I feel
what
like we might have.
I think because I think that's a really good question. I think that has to do a lot with it. Um, what I've usually seen about college football 25 is obviously it's the whole nostalgia thing. Like how you said, the game has been missing for what 11 years at that point.
Mm.
Being the last release, was NCAA 14. So yeah, like with it being over 10 years old, I can definitely see that. Um, I think like how you mentioned, the gameplay was still for it being gone that long. One thing that I 100% agree with you on, though, is that I think there were some issues that we did overlook because, yes, the game was gone for so long. And the reason why is because there were still bugs. Like, there were still like some glitches happening in college football 25. And for me, definitely understanding and seeing some of that, definitely, yeah, like that made me think about it. Like I didn't complain that much about college football 25 because I think they patched some of the big bugs like early, but I did feel like there were still some glitches and some things that were going on. And like I said, there were some imperfections. The biggest complaint that I had about college football 25, and this is because I am a Road to Glory player, so I am in the minority. I know a lot of people are heavy dynasty players, but
Same.
my biggest complaint about college football 25 was in Road to Glory. Even when you maxed out your coach trust meter, I want to get access to the full damn playbook. I feel like that was a really big imperfection, and I haven't maxed out my coach meter yet in college football 26. So I don't know what that access leads to, but that to me was the biggest complaint that I had about, college football 25. And to me, I don't like to be limited, you know what I'm saying, as far as like my gameplay wise, definitely in a game that's so I would say individual focused in Road to Glory. But I just even know even people mentioned like in Dynasty, there were so many glitches when it came to like recruiting in college football 25 that people didn't like. And I know we'll probably get to that here when we talk about, things in, college football 26 that we didn't like. But I definitely saw that there were a lot of people that had really big complaints about Dynasty mode in 25.
Well, so I do want to talk about Road to Glory first because that's where the bulk of my time has been spent. I am like you that I'm a massive Road to Glory fan because and listen. I tell people all the time when it comes to 2K, I'm a big My Career fan. I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of a mode that gives me reason to keep playing and keep playing, and I feel like there's constant progression in a game like My Career, and things like Ultimate Team or 2K My Team. Those things have never appealed to me. And if you're expecting us to talk a lot about Ultimate Team today,
hell
I
no.
think I can only speak. I can speak for both of us. Then you're going to be very disappointed because we're not talking about Ultimate Team. This is not fucking Madden. We do not care about Ultimate Team. Ultimate Team, to be honest with you, and I said this last year. I'll say it again now. Ultimate Team does not need to be in this game. Does not
It
need to be
doesn't.
in this game at all. It is pointless to have it in this game. I think that's stupid. Now going to Road to Glory, the changes they did make, it's interesting because some of them are really good, some of them have little to no effect, and some of them I'm just like, why was this done? So I want to start with this. Your recruitment out of high school, I love. I love being able to play in a high school setting. And here's the thing that I like, the attention to detail for me was the coolest part of it. Because Darius, I was able to list my team as from Arlington, where I went to high school. And
Awesome.
all of the opponents I played had West Tennessee names.
Oh
All
wow.
of them had West Tennessee names, except for one. One was McMinnville, which is obviously a little bit further out in East Tennessee. But
Right.
Decatur, which is just Riverside, that's in West Tennessee.
Yep. Hmm.
McKenzie, that's in Riverside.
Yep.
My rival played for Cordova, who for Arlington, when I was in high school, I think they might still be now. That was a region game.
That's
Like it
awesome.
was so. It was. We played Westview as well. Like we played Martin, and that's Westview. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is sick. That like it took my location, and maybe this was on accident, maybe it was unintentional, but it looks like it took high schools that were local to my high school, or were at least in the same part of the state in as my high school, and that was who I played. And I thought that was cool. I really
That is
enjoyed that. And I actually really like the challenge system quite a bit of instead of playing full games, you have a couple of goals on each drive. You try to accomplish them. That helps you or hurts you in your recruiting. I actually really like that a lot. Now, in that same vein, I hate how brain dead my teammates are in that part of the mode.
oh, good God.
I hate how trash my teammates are that I put a ball right on their hands in the flat and they drop it when they're wide open. I am not
Yeah.
a fan of that. And like, listen, again, there's a change that I'm going to get into, and Darius, you already know what the change is. So I mean, it's not going to surprise you at all when I bitch about this the way I will. But it annoys me when I do everything right and I get punished for it because of another change that was made. And this is my least favorite change in the entire mode. Why in the world did they introduce a teammate grade? That's
Yeah.
terrible in my opinion, especially because if you get blitzed by the the defensive end that's across from your left tackle because your left tackle is terrible, that if that defensive end is in your face before you are even in your drop, you get punished for it. Not your left tackle, not your running back for missing a block. You do. You lose teammate grade for that. And I
Crazy.
think personally that is garbage. I hate that. I hate when a teammate drops a pass that hits them right in the hands. I hate that too. I am not a fan of either of those things. I very much am a fan of, hey, when I do the right thing in a game, I want to be rewarded. I want to feel like what I did mattered, not, oh, well, the game decided or your teammate decided to be an asshole and he dropped the pass. Like, or your left tackle decided he wasn't being paid enough NIL money and he decided to let you get hit. Like, it's one of those things. I'm not a fan of the teammate grade. I think the teammate grade is garbage. And I've had an A plus teammate grade the entire time. It's not like I've played bad. I have had
Right.
an A plus teammate grade the entire time. I just think it was a pointless change. Like, why add this? You're not giving me any more incentive outside of coach's trust. Like, I ultimately don't really care about my teammate grade that much. And I just feel like it's stupid. But to end on a positive note, and then I'll kick it over to you, Darius. I love the recruitment side of this. I love that these schools come through and they're like, hey, we want to see you do this week. We're going to get an up close look at you. We want you to do this. And again, it gives you an extra challenge that you can do. And then you have your signing day ceremony, and they kind of tease this a little bit. And I almost wish they hadn't, because it would have been such a cool surprise to know that you can fake teams out, that you can fake put on a hat or throw a hat to the side or whatever. I loved that, because to me, again, that's the beginning of college football right there, is signing day. And I love that. So Darius, when you looked at your experience to Road to Glory or anything I just said, what were your thoughts on that stuff?
I think Road to Glory is definitely one. Like I said, I'm with you on this one. I think it's one of the modes that I have spent at least. I would say around, for me, it's around like 80% of my time. Probably, I'd say no. I'll probably spend 90% of my time on Road to Glory. So whenever I played Road to Glory, I'm someone who's been playing uh NCAA football or college football since I've been playing this game since 2003. Which I think was that Joey Harrington was on the cover. I remember
Good
just
God,
so vividly.
you're dating the both of us.
Oh my God, I know.
We turned 30 this year, dude. I'm gonna need you to calm down.
Oh dear God. Oh my God. That is insane. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I remember playing that game, I remember the bare basics of the game. Like, there was no Road to Glory, but that all changed in 2006. Well, 2005, but NCAA 2006, they introduced it's called Road to Heisman, or I forgot what the name of it was called, but it's basically the origins of Road to Glory. And basically in that mode, and even for this game to be back in 2005, it was. And I'm bringing this because I'm gonna bring it home, I promise.
I
But
got you.
even back in NCAA 2006, the game was so detailed that they would give you a calendar, and on the calendar you could you would have to, like, obviously go to class and do all of this stuff. Then you had to balance your academics. Now, obviously, with NIL, I mean, that's probably going to change in the next couple of years. But anyway, but anyway, so it was really detailed, and like you did have position battles like how you do now and things like that. But all of that changed even back in '05, around like 2012, I think, or NCAA football 12. I think pretty much is when they started, I think, the Road to Glory. And the crazy part is, I remember when that change started and they allowed you to play in high school. Now, that is when things change. And so for me, whenever you actually play in high school, I remember countless of times, and I think this was before Team Builder was a thing, because I'll bring this around and when the 26 version comes in. But back in the day, right? When they first introduced high schools in Road to Glory, literally, man, so what they would do is that they would put you in a playoff bracket in around like the first couple of NCAA footballs. They'll put you in a bracket, and you would have to play basically your college football playoffs. And then around NCAA 14, that's when they changed it, and this is the one everybody clamors and talks about. Is you're in high school, but I think you get to play like a whole, like, 6 or 8 game schedule. This is the only, and now I'm kind of going to tie it all together. I wish college football 26, I wish they would have merged like the old and the new, because I mean, I do like the fact that that you can pick to be a 5-star and do the moments and do stuff like that. But I just think there was a charm and there was a competitive edge to it, which is why I went underdog. I went like a 2 star because I remember back in those days, whenever you would be like a 0 star, and then you would have to play your way up to be a 5 star. And that's one thing that I like that they did with this one is that they give you the opportunity to keep grinding. But this is
Yes.
where yes, and this is where I want to merge where some things that you were saying and some things that I was kind of thinking on the same wavelength is that the fact that we in college football 26, the fact that we get absolutely like bushwhacked for having things done to us. Like there were some college football games, not college, there were some high school football games where I legitimately remember I would throw it to the running back, like which is on a basically a swing. And mind you, for some reason, they gave me a running back that was like 300 pounds. I BS you not. And then they also gave me a tight yes. And then they also gave me a tight end that was like 300 pounds. Rusty, I'm not even lying. It
I
was
gotta
insane.
see video of this.
Yes, dude, if I can, I promise if I can do it again, I will. But they would drop, they were linemen, and I was like, what? And so for me, that was the most frustrating part. So I would have legit, I'm trying to throw to the tight end, but the lineman, quote unquote, or the quote unquote tight end is dropping passes when he's wide open. And I am frustrated at this point because I'm a 2 star. I'm trying to grind my way to get to being at least a 4 or a 5. Man, the highest I got was like a 3 star, man. Like it was insane. But like how you do mention though, I do like the fact that they let you pick that they let you do that whole hat ceremony. I think that's really cool. The only thing I wish they would have did, because I guess I'm like old man shaking fist at clouds. I think the idea of moments is cool, but I would love it if they were to allow us to play at least like a 6 to 8 season game and have a playoff like the old ones. Because if you were to make it to your championship game in the old ones, like since we're in Tennessee, we would actually play the state championship game at the University of Tennessee. Like that would be like even though I think in real life it's played at Chat.
Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but in the old games though, like you would play at Neyland Stadium for your high school championship game, and I just thought like that was so cool. So, I mean, there are some things in Road to Glory that I think that they did well, and I think that I like what they did. It's better than 25. I will say this: like the high school portion is way better in 25, because there was no high school. So the fact that
Yeah.
the fact they give you an opportunity to be in high school is pretty cool. I like the fact, and this is also too about the team builder part. I found my high school, and I've imported my team in from high school that was on team builder, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I got to play at Stratford. I don't remember any of like the opponents that we had, but they were Tennessee opponents, like how you did mention. I think that was pretty cool. Um, Now, I will say my biggest gripe about Road to Glory, and I think that they are fixing this. I just saw that they're putting out an update, I think next week. But Rusty, did you feel like that when you were in college, did you play in like 3 straight rain games? Like,
Yeah.
did you get more rain?
Yeah. I did feel that way. I felt like weather was a lot more prevalent, and
Yeah,
it's not something I'm a huge fan of because it was like because of that, the playbook all of a sudden became uber conservative, especially because my first year, I ended up going to Tennessee. I didn't get into a game until we were 5-4. I won a quarterback battle because they finally gave me one. And literally the first 2 games I played were both rain games. And I'm
yes.
like, so literally like half the time I would have one passing play, it would be an RPO, and it's like, oh, great. So at most on this play, I'm going to get 5 or 6 yards through the air, or I can just hand the ball off for a 3 yard gain. Like it felt like it impacted the coach's playbook a little too much for my liking.
Right. And that was like to me my biggest gripe about it is that it like I played because I was at Louisville my freshman year. I'm in my sophomore year now, but in my freshman year, it rained so much, and it was getting to a point to where it's unbearable. I played 3 games in the rain like in a row, and that to me was very frustrating. Um, but I feel like as far as they change that in the next update, I think that'll be okay. But I think honestly, I think Road to Glory they improved on it. They did bring back high school to an extent, but the thing is, I feel like now that they laid kind of like that groundwork, I think they can take it to new heights. Like I said, I like it, but I feel like there's still some lacking to it. Like how you said, the teammate grade, I think was a big disappointment. Um, but yeah, I think that there's definitely more that they could do. I think that the mode for sure, it's not a disappointment because I feel like last year it was a disappointment because they got rid of high school and that was the most fun part of it. But I feel like, like I said, the hat ceremony is great. I love that. Um, and to me, like I said, I don't know what it looks like when you max out your coach trust, but to me, I need access to the full playbook. If they still didn't fix that, then that's going to irritate me so bad because they're plays that I want to run. Maybe I want to do a quarterback sneak if I'm on the 1 yard line and I don't trust my running back. Like that's something that's important. So, you know, I think Road to Glory is a good mode. I just think that it could be a great mode if they just combine the two eras and make them into one. That's all. I think the
So
moments were cool, but I think there was way more that they could have done. Go ahead.
So I'll go ahead and I'll tell you, as someone that I feel like I've reached a really high amount of trust with my coach, the playbook doesn't open up at all.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
I don't feel like, I'll be honest, and this could be an indictment on Tennessee's actual playbook in real life, but I feel like every time I go through the plays, I'm looking at like the same like 8 or 9 plays. I'm
Yes.
looking at the
That's yes.
same ones, and I'm like, okay, we're 5-0, we're ranked top 10 in the country. Open the freaking playbook up for me a little bit. Like, what are we doing? Like, I want to run stuff that you're not giving me the option to, and you're pretty much just saying, no, we're not going to let you. We're not going to let you do that. And it's like, why though? Like, why wouldn't you let me
Exactly.
do that? I just played a game where I beat Florida State 52-10 in 3 quarters, basically, and I don't get to use the playbook. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's kind of weird. You also mentioned that you've got an online dynasty going on Heisman difficulty. I want you to talk about that for a little bit because that sounds like that's been a joy.
Bro. Let me tell. Okay, to anyone that's, I'm pretty sure anyone that's listening to this, and who's played the game, I wouldn't say this, man. I play Road to Glory and I play just regular play now on All American, which is the one right before Heisman. And I was saying, okay, if I'm playing on Heisman, cool. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a little bit more difficult, but it's probably not going to be that difficult, right? And I think I do fairly well on All Americans. Whenever I'm playing like Road to Glory, like I said, I'm doing pretty good. Like I played at Louisville. I lost to Clemson playing on All American in the last game in overtime, double overtime, matter of fact. So I was thinking, right? My friends had put me in a group chat, like, hey y'all, let's start a dynasty, a group dynasty, and see how this goes. And I was like, all right, cool. And they was like, okay, it's gonna be on Heisman difficulty. And I was like, all right, that's cool. So just to let people know, I'm gonna set the background. So we did a random picker. So your name. So once your name was picked, then you had to do your conference, and then you had to do your team. And our only stipulation is that you can only do a team that is max 3.5 stars. So that way, it's so nobody like you can't rebuild Ohio State because they're already good. You're gonna win every recruiting battle. It takes away the challenge of it. Okay, cool. So I landed on my conference was the Big Ten, and my team was Nebraska. And I'm like, okay, Nebraska's not too bad. They got Dylan Raiola, who is I think he's like an 89 or he's like a 90 at quarterback. He's a good quarterback on the
Which is
game.
wild Because he has done nothing in real life to earn that.
That is true. Yeah, I think he's like a 87, 89. Like he's close. He's in the mid to upper 80s, which I'll take. And I'm just saying with a program like Nebraska, it'll be easier to recruit. It's a big program, big name recognition, and all that stuff. Bro, let me tell you, but let me tell you this. Mind you, I am an All-American player because I know how it is on Heisman. And this is why, like, even on 2K, I don't play Hall of Fame. I play Superstar, which is one level before, because it's more realistic in my opinion. But I played Heisman, Rusty, and let me tell you, oh my God, this this is the most, like, I have, like, the stuff that I get away with on All American 100% does not fly. And it is insane to me how how people play on Heisman. And maybe it's just like I'm not good. I mean, I don't know. But the thing is, I've played obviously on rookie before, and like to me, like that's or like varsity or whatever it is, like the easiest one. Like to me, that's too easy. That's why I play on All American. All American gives me a challenge, but it doesn't, you know, put the AI on like God difficulty. I in my first game, I guess I'm bad. But there were some, and I threw at least like 7 to like 8 interceptions in the first game. It was bad.
That's
It was so bad.
crazy.
It's so bad. And the thing is that I like there because the thing is I played quarterback on Road to Glory, so I know the timing of like a comeback route. I know the timing of a curl route. And the thing is, one of the things that they said that they were going to fix is that you can't have a defender who doesn't have his eyes on the ball intercept the ball. Man, I'm telling on Heisman difficulty, look, that rule is out the window. I'll tell you that right now. I literally had I think it was I was running there was one route that really aggravated me. Like there's one play that interception really aggravated me. So I was telling the receiver, not telling the receiver, but the play had a receiver run a comeback route. So he's running it, and then the same way I time it on Road to Glory is right before they get to their break, because on the comeback route they go deep on the out of bounds. Like they go after they stem the top of their route, they go towards the out of bounds boundary because they have the DB on their backside. So whenever they're doing that, I time it exactly the same. And then Dylan Rayola, oh my God, throws it straight to the defender. And I'm just like, dude, this is the exact way I time it on Road to Glory. And the thing is, he's supposed to throw it to the out of bounds boundary so he can make a, like a what's like a tiptoe catch. Like that's how it's supposed to be ran. But dude, he threw it straight to the top of the route, and that literally aggravated me so bad. And the reason why it really aggravated me is because the defender had his back turned, and that's like, like for me, that was insane. I've never seen that before. And then once that just happened, my confidence just died because I was just like, at that point, man, like I'm not going to kick any passes. Like there's like some windows that you can make, but like I said, like it's just like God level on like Heisman. Like I've like the AI is like insane on defense. Like there's some windows that like even if they're playing like cover two and the cornerback sits in the flat and you could try to fit it in there between the safety and the corner, for some reason they will still intercept that ball. It is so weird to me. So I mean, I have to play Akron. That's my next opponent. So hopefully, they let me breathe. Maybe I can just shake maybe I can shake the first game jitters off, but good God, like I said, I think Cincinnati was my first opponent. So they're a average-ish team. Like they're on, I guess, the same level as Nebraska. But if I can't beat Akron, then something's wrong. But and what I'm going to do, man, is I'm trying my best to not throw that many interceptions again. But I guess on Heisman, you just have to play ultra conservative. And the thing is, like, I think I'm just going to have to run the ball, honestly. I'm just going to have to run the ball. But yeah, man, passing, like, just trying to do anything on Heisman is actually insane. I've jumped from All American to Heisman is actually wild. I've never seen a difficulty spike that much. Like I said, even in 2K, when I play on Hall of Fame, it's not that bad to where it's like I'm mad and I want to go back to Superstar, like, or anything like that. Like I don't think it's that, like, I would say that difference makes sense in 2K. Doggone, like, from All American to Heisman is like night and day. Like it's not the same. I'm telling you, it's not the same at all. But
Which is
that's, yeah,
insane.
that's my rant on the difficulty. But all right, as far as Dynasty mode, I will get into Dynasty mode because I did forget about that. Okay, things I
Yeah.
do like about Dynasty mode is that they have proximity. Um, they have like a proximity thing as far as like when it comes to recruiting players. So if you have a player that is close in your proximity, I think it requires less time, which I really like. So for me, I'm in Nebraska. So if anybody in like Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri that I want to recruit, it will take me less hours to recruit those players. And I love that because that makes sense, right? Like I'm not going to California or New York or, Washington State to recruit a player. That obviously makes sense. It would make more time to do that. So I like that. I like the proximity hours. As far as that on Dynasty mode, let's see what's another. I do like on Dynasty mode. They did add a lot. As far as they really added a lot to like the whole recruiting thing. And that's and the layout looks way better. You don't like there was a whole team needs like section that they had, and now they actually put that on there so it's more user friendly instead of having to go back to see what your team needs were and then go back to the recruiting screen. They made the quality of life of it a little bit more. I will say they did improve dynasty mode, and this goes back to my like overall thoughts that I'll get to is like what you mentioned about like Ultimate Team, and like I promise I'll save this for like my overall opinion about the game. But I think that that's one thing I like in that they did improve Dynasty. I feel like Dynasty is their bread and butter. Like that's what they're going to invest most of their time in. And I understand it is a fun mode because that mode can go on forever. So that makes sense. The only thing I don't really like about Dynasty is that I think a lot of people, I haven't gotten there yet, but a lot of people that I've seen, they've had like 50 players leave their school after a year. And I hope that they're going to change that because I will be damned if I have 50 players into the transfer portal after my first year. Like, hell no. But like I said, I haven't gotten there yet. I just, like I said, I just started Dynasty, but as far as like the recruiting stuff, like that's gotten better. Than 25, in my opinion. Obviously, like it's cross-platform now. Like last year, it wasn't cross-platform, so I'm able to play with my friends that have PlayStations and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, I think they definitely, gave a lot of love to Dynasty mode. So, yeah, that's my whole rant about Dynasty about Dynasty mode on Heisman. But yeah, that's my whole rant. I've never did that before. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think that has all but discouraged me to ever even think about taking a look at anything on this game on Heisman mode. I think I'm good. I think I prefer my sanity. Um,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
I
yeah.
just I don't have any desire to get mad at the game like that. I don't have any desire to shatter a controller, so I will not be doing that. Um, See that this is where Darius, my opinion of this game, it's so difficult to fully pin down because on one end, I do think this game is really solid. It's a continuation of last year's game, and it feels like while it doesn't take many steps forward or many steps back, it also doesn't take very many steps forward. And that's something that does concern me a little bit in the long run. It's something that I want to see this franchise take big steps forward. And I worry that because it's EA that's making it, I am concerned that instead of doing that, we are going to get the college football version of Madden every year. And that concerns me because I look at college football, especially college football 25, as a game that I think was born and came back out of passion. EA saw that a lot of people wanted this franchise to come back. People saw, or they saw that people were screaming, like, hey, we're sick of Madden. Give us college football back and we will support it. And they gave us, in my opinion, a very good game. Now, do I believe, to answer my question from earlier, because I never really answered it, Do I believe that we were blinded by nostalgia a little bit last year? Yes, I do think we were. I do think we were. I think that there was a fair amount in the game that was maybe a little bit lacking that we more or less overlooked or kind of allowed to be that way without really voicing a ton of it because we were just happy to have the game again. We were just happy to have it. So I do think there is a fair amount of that in play. Now, do I still think the game was a 9 out of 10 game that was really great and a lot of fun and I enjoyed for however long I played it? Absolutely, I do. But to sum all it up how I feel, and then I'll let you make some closing remarks, Darius. I was excited about college football 26 because we saw the changes they were attempting to make. I am now way less excited for college football 27. I'm way less excited for it now. I was looking forward to 26. I will play 27. But what happens next year in next year's game, that is probably going to determine whether or not this becomes a yearly buy for me. As somebody that has a video game podcast that plays a ton of video games, and they are expensive, and I am not made of money, next year's game is going to decide a lot about whether or not I make this a yearly thing and whether or not we review this every single year. Because if next year's game makes significant changes, then awesome. That gives me a reason to want to come back for 28 and even further and further, maybe. It gives me a reason to want to do all that. But I don't feel like 26, if I didn't love 25, I feel like I would hate 26. I feel like I would hate it. And I feel like because I loved 25, I enjoy 26, but I definitely see it as, on the whole, a game that kind of more or less went with a few small, subtle changes instead of a few big additions that maybe would have enhanced the game around it. That's kind of how I look at it. I think it's a quality game. If you asked me to score it, I'd probably give it a 7. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, where, again, I thought last year's game was a 9 out of 10. And that's a 7 out of 10 that I issue with tough love because I was hoping it would take a few bigger steps forward, and it just didn't. And when it didn't, that was disappointing to me. So, Darius, what are your closing remarks?
Yeah, my closing remarks, man. I think, and I kind of teased this a little bit whenever we were talking a little bit in the last segment, but when we were talking about Ultimate Team, right? I feel like Ultimate Team is obviously one of the, these type of modes are one of the biggest quote unquote cash grabs in all the sports, right? You got Diamond Dynasty and MLB. You got Ultimate Team in Madden. You got My Team in 2K, and then Ultimate Team again in college football. For me, and the thing is, EA will never do this. My wife is an avid Sims player, so she can tell you all about EA. And here's the thing: is that I feel like when it comes to these modes, right, about like Ultimate Team and getting you to microtransaction your ass out of the game, I feel like the energy they put into these modes, like Ultimate Team and all of these other modes, they can use that to make improvements for Road to Glory, make improvements for, I would guess like gameplay or even like equipment, like people have been clamoring about mascot mode coming back. And I mean, I don't think there's mascot mode coming back, even though nobody really plays it. It's just one of those nostalgia things that people like. I think that there is still a lot for this game to be desired. That 100% could have made the game better. Like I said, not having full access to the playbook is still absolutely asinine, honestly, because that's something that people were banging the tables on about, college football 25, is that, hey, for Road to Glory, we want access to the full playbook. And the fact that we don't have it still, to me, that's not listening to your fans. And the thing is, I try to watch a lot of YouTubers who played this game a lot, and they say that the guys are in the Reddit chats and they're on Twitter looking at players who play this game. So for me, whenever I hear that they are in the community, to me, I don't see it because I'm still having to I still don't have access to the full playbook on Road to Glory, to me, which is insane. And like I said, like a lot of people were disappointed, even though I think it was an improvement. A lot of people were disappointed with Road to Glory. And like I said, there are some things they added that is awesome, like the whole hat thing. I think that's awesome. Um, and like how you mentioned, like the whole scholarship offer program, like that, I love that part. But even if they do make like some improvements, it's like how you said they were kind of subtle. And to me, when you're doing it, I think they're trying to pace themselves so they don't burn out of ideas. But I think when you skip the ideas that people have been talking about for so long, that's kind of like the part that gets into like the whole fan base experience. So for me, I think that there is so much to be desired about this game that they still could have improved on. Um, but like I mentioned, I think there are some improvements that they did make, and I don't want it to make it sound like that. Rusty and I are like shitting on this game. It's still a fun game. Like I still have a really good time with it. Um, like how you said, last year's was to me like a 9 out of 10. I think if I were to give this one a game, not a game, if I were to give this one a grade, it would be it probably for me, it would be like a 8 out of 10, maybe a 8.5 out of 10, because to me, like I still really do play it. But it's like how you said, it feels the same, like in some aspects. It just feels like they put a lot of more, and I mean this in a, I guess like in a hyperbolic way, but like it's the same game, but they put makeup on it. Like, and I don't mean that in a mean way because, like I said, the presentation has improved versus college football 25. So for me, I like that they added like the new music. That's awesome. It's way more enjoyable now. The music, the presentation is awesome, but the things that is lacking to me is, like I said, those things like the complaints that everybody's making about Road to Glory. It's still very buggy when it comes out, but to me, I think that's an EA problem. Like I said, like this is an EA problem that goes, from Madden to The Sims to college football. Like as soon as something comes out with EA, there's going to be a lot of bugs. So I'm just, waiting on that to happen and waiting for them to patch it up and all that stuff. But there's still some things that they need to do more of. And that's what I'm saying is like, if you could just put your time and energy, like how you do the Ultimate Team, into like Road to Glory or, something else, then I think that would be awesome. Like how you said, the teammate grade, while it was an addition, they may think it's a quote unquote improvement, but not all improvements are made equal. Because I feel like that was a bad one. I think the passing meter, while being more detailed, it kind of took away, like how you said, it kind of took away out of the game because there are some passes that you get in the gold, but to me it seems like they still over or underthrow it. So yeah, to me, I enjoyed the game. Like I said, last year, I agree. I gave it like a 9 out of 10. It was great. It was awesome. It was fun. I just hated the music and I hated the high school part on Road to Glory. But what they did on this one is that they, like I said, they put makeup on it, but they didn't go into detail about some of the things that I did when they added high school. They changed the music that you heard every time. But there were still some things lacking. And I know that sounds contradicting because, like, well, they improved on what you said. Like, they improved it, but they didn't add detail to those improvements.
They kind of half-assed it.
Yes, they half-assed improvements. Yes, that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. I think that you're spot on in all accounts. I mean, the score at the end of the day is always subjective, whether like what I give it versus what you give it. It's always subjective at the end of the day. We don't have to agree 100% on that, but I think we both agree. We were expecting, I think, a little bit more out of this game, and the fact that it didn't really become an improvement over 25 is at the end of the day what makes this game a little bit of a disappointment for me. So I hate to say again, I hate to talk about a game that's a year down the road, but college football 27 to me is going to be a very important game because if it is a step back or it is not a big step forward, I don't know that I'm going to buy college football 28. I don't know that I'm going to make this a yearly buy because I don't want to waste my money and I really don't want this franchise to get the Madden treatment where because it sells really well, they just kind of They slack on the quality, slack on the quality, slack on the quality. Madden has turned into yearly release slop, and I don't want that for this franchise. So I want to make that very clear. I want this franchise to be great. Last year, I felt like, despite the nostalgia, was great. This year, I do feel like it was a little bit of a step back. So that is going to do it for this joint episode of the R&D Sports Podcast and Side Mission. As far as the Side Mission listeners, you can follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can follow us on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For me and Darius, I guess for R&D, you can follow either of us on social media. I don't know if you really want to do that. We're both kind of heathens, or we're both kind of heathens in different ways. But you can follow us if you would like to. But that is going to do it for us. He's Darius Horton. I'm Rusty Ellis. Thanks for listening.